Hi all, welcome back. I am Vishwanath. In previous videos, we developed two Spring Boot REST API microservices from scratch using Java 17, Maven, and integrated with HATEOAS, Lombok, H2, JPA, Swagger, Hall, Actuators, implemented validation, handled exception, secured endpoints, and also for one of them we have created the Docker image and hosted that from Azure uh, for CI, and later we have migrated both the apps to Git, and also we have discussed on API filtering by value, by field, and sorting, pagination, versioning for one of the apps and its purpose. And also we have implemented various mappings like one-on-one, one-to-many, many-to-one, many-to-many concepts, and later we have unit tested both the apps and uplifted the code quality as well, and all the changes are committed to Git. Let's today see how we can move away the dependency of hard coding the URLs from the apps, and let's introduce a new component called as registry discovery, which can help in migrating those or getting away from hard-coded URLs. Hence, both the applications, instead of talking to each other, will now communicate via registry discovery. Without any late, let's get started. So let's go to RAD and start service Spring Starter project, and let's call this as a discovery server. And let's for the discovery server, we need not have all these annotations, but we need to have is Eureka server, and optionally you can have like starter and which I meant by dev tools, and let us click finish. So now you can see that the discovery server is getting ready. So for the discovery server, in order to act as a discovery server, we have to support with an annotation, which is nothing but to make enable this as an Eureka server. Eureka server. So as you see, there are two annotations. One is enable as a server, and another is a client. For the rest of the components, what we have like user app and address app, we will be making that as a enable Eureka client. Also, we have to do changes to the application properties where we define the name of the application and the port, and also we have to tell this server that this is the only server, so it should not get register itself. So we will be adding one more property onto that. So let's start adding the Spring application dot name, Spring dot application application dot name. Let's name the this as a naming server. Naming server. You can mention it any name, and over here the port that I am interested to set to by default it runs on 8761, so I'm just mentioning the same port over here. And also we can say, like, in order to prevent Eureka to register itself, I'm trying to say like registration to be false. So so register with Eureka, so I'm just setting this as a false, and the other parameter is basically saying that Eureka as a fetching as a client registry to be false. So it is going to be fetch client registry. Fetch registry is false. So these are the changes that are required on a server. And once we in order to make our microservices to act as a Eureka clients, we have to also add the jar first. So let's go to the pom.xml. and let's see the details what we have added as a server. So let's copy this dependency, and we will now be going to our other apps where we are trying to add the dependency of client. So we can place this, but it is not going to be a server, it is going to be a client. So add as a client, Eureka client, and I have just changed server to client, and adding version is not a good practice. So if we go back to our server, we can see like there is something called as a dependency management, which will decide like what is a version that is going to be used. We can also copy that dependency management after the dependencies, and where this is exactly used is inside this we have a property called as a Spring Cloud property. So in that way, the existing dependency, instead of saying version for this particular thing, we can just go there and we can mention that as here. So similarly, I'll be doing the similar changes for user app as well, going to the pom.xml and adding those dependencies. So first, let me add it to the properties, the versioning part, and then let me add the dependency management, which is after dependencies and before build. Uh, so I go over here and I add my dependency management, and now I'm going to add the Eureka client artifact ID and dependency so onto my server as well. So probably I can add it over here. So I have just saved that app after adding those dependencies. Now we have to add the annotations onto the main class for the components, where I'll be going to my application and I'll be saying like enable uh, Eureka server as a client So I'll just copy paste this annotation to my user app as well. And in terms of application.properties, we there are a couple of changes as well. So Shift Control W will help you to close all the windows. And I'm just copying this. I'll go to my address app, where I'll be mentioning the name of my application as an address app, and I'll copy the same property and I'll go to my user app, and I'll also mention the port along with my address. So I'll just copy these two ports, and I'll just say the details over here. Uh, I'll mention this as uh, 9080, and I'll mention this as my user app. So let me save it. Also, we have to make one more property change, where we'll be saying like Eureka server by default where it is running along with the URL. So the way how we can give that property is Eureka.client, where we are going to say it is a uh, service URL, and what we are going to say is the service URL will have a default zone. So inside that default zone, I'm just going to mention that based on my port, which is my local host, and for Eureka server, we have mentioned the port as 7661, and I'm just trying to say as it is going to be Eureka. Even if you don't give this property, Eureka is, I mean, because we have made this annotation, it is going to be, determined. So let's give for one application for user app, and let's not give the this property inside here. I'm going to start all the three applications. So I see all the applications are running up, and let me quickly go to browser and launch the browser and see how Eureka server is able to pick the other microservices or not. Uh, so localhost 8761. So we can see that this particular one where it is able to identify both the address app and user app, and where it is trying to run. So if I click on it on this, you can see uh, the value of here is initially coming as null. The reason why actuators are not functioning is if you go to the application.properties for address app, we have not enabled the actuators, whereas for user app, we have enabled the actuator saying all management endpoints to be enabled. So if we add a same property over here, we would be able to see the actuators for user, address app as well. So I'm just going to add that one, uh, and let's go to the browser quickly, and let's refresh. So for you can see like for the user app, we can see like which is running in port number 9080. We can see the data is working fine. You can see as a status or health. So I don't remember the exact URL. Let me click on Actuators. So you can see like there are lot of information. So I think it should be health or status. So so yeah, I see that to be health. If we see, we are able to see the status of this is running up. So that's all on user app. And now let's see for the address app, because we have integrated the actuators. It is actuator.health. We can see like it is up and running. So when we go to the Eureka, we can see like one instance of each app is running. We can now get rid of the ports that we have mentioned over here via using the application name in, so that when the request comes, instead of we saying as a localhost dot port number, we will be replacing that with the application name. So each request will inquire with the Eureka server and get the required server details. So let's see that in action. So, so let's go to user app, where we are inside the controller, in user controller, where we are doing the rest uh, actions, where we are saying like this is our address details. Let's quickly replace that with user app for all the details. Uh, so localhost, instead of saying this, now we are not hard coding any of these details. Let's perform whether the application is working as desired or not. So we can directly go to Swagger, uh, and we can say that uh, we'll go to post method. That is where we have integrated. We'll try it now. Uh, we need not pass the IDs or and also we have to remove this, and because there is a validation, I'm just saying like uh, in order to pass the validation, and I'm trying to say as an execute. What you can see that it has thrown an issue. The reason why we have encountered this issue is we have not mentioned the REST template uh, to when we are passing this parameter, we have not mentioned the load balancing to the REST template. So if we go back to our application, where inside the user control we have a bean, so where we will be saying like it is going to be a load balancer. Uh, So load balanced. So this particular annotation will help the REST template to identify the various applications with the name rather than like a port. After that, let's go to here. Let's say as a restart, the app is running up. Uh, just I'll give you a space so that you can see once we click it, app goes down, and now again the app will come up, register itself. So yeah, so that's how instantaneously you see if the applications are going down and coming up. You can just see on this dashboard, which is called as a Eureka dashboard as well. So now let's perform this action once again, execute it. So now you can see that response is 201. We can also check this in H2 console. So localhost, I can directly give as this localhost because I have changed the ports 9090 slash h2 console login close. This is for the address. You can see like there is one table. The reason why it has appeared only one table because we have only passed one user details in the Swagger. We have not created multiple one. Yeah, we can also create that. And for the other port 8080, if I just copy paste this, likewise for the 1991, I believe. What was the port? So it is 1980. 1980. So admin. And we can also see that for this there is one record that is persisting on the database. So just to recap what we have done today, we have created a naming server and using a Eureka naming services, we have registered our microservices over there so that we are using the load balancer annotation on a REST template so that it can find multiple instances. In order to do that, I'll go to Eclipse and I'll also create another instance of address app. So let's go to the address app, and what we have to do is we have to say as a run as a configuration where we get this window, and inside this window what we can say is a Java app. Double click on it and it gives you another window where we can mention the details inside an argument. We can just say as a D server port, server dot port, and we can mention like the port number 8080. I'll just mention that port to be 8080, and inside here we can also give the particular naming convention saying like it is running on 8080, and also we can include like what is a main class inside that. So So it gives this window. I'm just selecting that class and saying as apply, and eventually also run. So on the console, we can see that the application started running, and the port number it is. So let me double click the console so that we can see the port. Over here we it has not overridden the port. And I see the reason, probably the configurations that I have selected for running the port. I think instead of the VM arguments, I think I have set it in the wrong place. So in the arguments, it should not be the program arguments, it should be the VM arguments. So I'm just trying to run and apply. So and meanwhile, I'll also log on to the Eureka just to see if the port that I have mentioned as a 8080, if that is up and running for the address app. So let me click on this console now. Application is starting, and let's watch out for the port. Port is 8080, which we have mentioned. And over here now we should see multiple instances of app because we have created another instance of it where you can see like a 8080 also. So what we can do is we can when we raise a request, if one of the microservices are down, which is running on a different instance, Eureka we will help us to discover a similar microservice, and using the load balancer annotation, REST templates used to like immediately serve the required purpose. So that's all for now. Thank you.